Hello, good morning. My name is Damla Tubi and I'm here live. I'm coming live from Redalia Workspaces at 43B Emina Crescent off Toy Street, Ikeja. And I'm so glad to be here today. I'm partner of Creed & Stone's SME Legal Support Law Firm, and today I'll be speaking to you about your business and the law and the things that you have to know as a startup, as a small or medium scale business owner, as an entrepreneur. So I hope we'll have a lovely time. You can send in your questions, type in your questions as you go along. I'll be taking your questions as well. Okay, so not to waste any of your time, it's a Monday morning. I'm sure there are a lot of things you want to do. So we'll start off with what is the most important thing when you want to start your business. What are the things that you should look out for, the legal requirements, the things you should be thinking about from the legal point of view when you want to start your business? And the first thing is structure. What kind of structure? What kind of legal structure do you want to adopt? In the course of my work and because of my experiences in the past, I've had to talk to startups that are trying hard to start with as little money as possible. They just look for they just say, just give me the cheapest alternative. But that's not what you should be looking out for. What you actually have to think about is, what is the essence of your company? For instance, if you are the only one that you don't have a partner, you don't have any other person starting the company with you, your options are limited. Yeah, that means you have to do a sole proprietorship, a business name. So don't let us jump the gun. Let me give you a brief roundup of your options. Now, the first option that you have, that you can register under the laws in Nigeria at the Corporate Affairs Commission, is a business name. Now, the business name is usually the most affordable of all the legal structures that you can adopt at inception. But the business name is also divided into two. So that we have the sole proprietorship and we have the partnership. So if you're just the only one, just you want to be selling stuff, you want to make cakes, you want to sell, buy and sell, you want to do anything you want to do, it's just a small startup, you go for the sole proprietorship. You register a business name as a sole proprietor. However, if you have other partners, you have one or two partners, you can adopt the business name as well as a partnership, as long as your partners are less than 50 persons. If I got that correct, or 20. So that's what you can adopt, a business name. Then the second thing you can do is a limited liability company, a private limited liability company. Now, the difference between these two is that as a business name, as a business name, you have as a business name, it's not a separate personality. So, for instance, I have a business name called the Mango Ventures, and it's my venture. I'm not different from the Mango. Do you get? So it's Damilola to be operating as the Mango, doing business as the Mango. So the personalities of the Mango and Damilola to be are legally merged. There's no separation. But with the limited liability company, when you have a company, it's different from the owners of the company. The company has, we call it a corporate personality, a separate legal personality. So that company is like a human being that can do things that a human being can do. He can borrow money, it can borrow money, it can do business, it can be taken to court, it can be sued and be sued, it can sue and be sued. So it's a separate legal personality. Now that is a more it's a corporate entity. It's a more acceptable, if I can say that, form of business. If you are thinking large scale, if you are thinking investments from different quarters, then you should be thinking of a private limited liability company. But for a company, you just can't be, for a limited liability company, you can't just be the only one. You must have at least two shareholders. The shareholders are the owners of the company, so you hold shares in the company, and at least two directors. And the directors are the ones that will manage the company. And if you want a minor, that's someone under the age of 18, maybe your child, your baby, to be a shareholder, they must have at least 2 other shareholders that are adults. And then a minor cannot be a director. Now, these are other things. These are just some of the things that you should know. Over time, I would advise that you engage a lawyer to give you more information about this as well. Now, the third one is a public company. Hi, Chinazo Adajo Onyebuchi. Hello, I can see you. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. And the third option is a public limited liability company. The same as a private limited liability company, as it has a corporate personality. However, with a public limited liability company, you can sell shares to the public. Those are the big companies that you see. I don't want to say names because nobody has sponsored us. So once you sponsor us, big corporate liabilities, big corporate companies, we would mention your names. Those are the big companies that actually issue shares to the public. So when you have your shares and you own shares in companies, those are really public limited liability companies. So these companies, for a startup, I don't think you'll be looking at that, but you could be thinking about that in the nearest future. Then you also have to register as well with the SEC, that's the Securities Exchange Commission of Nigeria, because that's the whole ball game entirely. You have requirements, you have things that you have to follow as well. Then we have an unlimited liability company as well, which is like a partnership, but it's on a large scale. But the liability of the company is unlimited, or of the shareholders is unlimited. Now let me go back and explain a little bit. Another thing about a limited liability company, either private or public, is that because there's a corporate, there's a distinction between the shareholders and the company itself. The shareholders cannot be liable for the debts, for instance, and liabilities of the company. So, for instance, if a company borrows money from a bank and is in default, generally, you cannot now say, oh, you are the shareholders, you are therefore liable to pay. You can't do that except for certain extraneous factors. But generally, you can't do that because the company is a separate personality. If the company has defaulted in payments, you can only look at the property and the assets of that company and not that of the shareholders. So that's the limited liability aspect of the private or public limited liability companies, which is a plus, and it could also be a disadvantage as well, depending on the kind of business that you want to do. But when it comes to unlimited companies, that aspect of limited liability is not there. So the individual shareholders can be held liable as well for the debts of the company. Then we have the fourth and the final one that I'll be speaking on today, is the incorporated trustee, which is similar to the limited by guarantee. That's another, they're quite similar, but this is where the charity organizations fall into. Your church organizations are usually fall under the incorporated trustee. That's what we call the Part C of CAMA. So if you intend to do any social entrepreneurship, you're not doing this for money. It's not a profit-making venture. You're trying to impact the society, so you want to get funds and you spend those funds entirely on an aspect that you have chosen, a charitable aspect that you have chosen, then this may be a good option for you to pursue. However, all these features have their peculiarities. They have their advantages and disadvantages. They have their different features. So the best thing to do is to engage a lawyer. However, you have to engage a lawyer. Okay, now I'm echoing. Is there somebody else? Is there another dummy speaking? Okay, I'm here. So all these different features have their different peculiarities. So you have to engage a lawyer at every point in time to be able to determine what is the most appropriate structure for you to adopt. Hi Elijah Otto, hello, and hi Mofolisha Adeshonaike. Nice to see you guys. Okay, so now we've talked about structure. We've talked about the different kinds of structure that we have and that you can adopt as a business owner. Now, the second thing that is important, it might come before or after you have registered your business entity. It depends. So it depends on the factors that are being associated with your setting up. This aspect is the preliminary contracts. So before you even start business, there's some contracts that you have to enter into, and they are closely tied to the registration, but they can be signed afterwards depending on the, as I said, the circumstances. Now, these are your partnership agreements. As long, I always tell my clients and family and friends that as long as you have more than one person engaging in any business or any venture, and they are more or less engaging in a fairly more or less equal basis. So if you have a company, for instance, somebody has 50% and another person has 40%, and they have both invested in the company, they are both actively involved. So it's not the case that it's just me that want to do this business, but my wife, I will now give you 10%. Those kind of cases, and your wife is just going to be there as a shareholder, you are the one running the show. That is a different case entirely. But if you have two or more people engaged in a business and they are actively involved, they are investing in this business, you have to have a contract. So if you have a partnership, if you've adopted a partnership structure, then you have to enter into a partnership agreement. If it's a shareholding structure, a private limited liability company or a public limited liability company, then you have to have a shareholders agreement. In fact, scrap that. If it's a private limited liability company, then you have to have a shareholders agreement. And then for major startups now that you want to do something big, and then you have people that have worked even before the registration has commenced. You've had people that have put in so much effort, that have donated money, that have put in so much effort towards the business. Then you have to have a founders agreement, which is different from a shareholders agreement. Now, these are things that you have to also consider when engaging your lawyer. So these are contracts that you must have. These contracts help to establish certainty in the relationship between business owners, between partners, between shareholders. So everybody knows exactly what to expect. Everybody knows exactly what their responsibilities are, what their rights are, and it would help prevent disputes in the future. So it's very, very important that you have contracts put in place even before you start up. So that's that. We definitely cannot speak about every aspect of the law, yes. However, I will try and give you a very rough picture so that when you are even talking to your lawyer, you are coming from a place of knowledge. Because at the end of the day, really, you need a lawyer. So the next aspect I'll be talking about now is an aspect that is now very, very popular in Nigeria, and a lot of work. It's an aspect that is very, very dear to my heart as well, because I'm also a chartered tax practitioner, and I actually advise my clients to be tax responsible. Now, this issue is tax. Of course, I'm sure you have guessed. Taxation. I'm sure you cringe at the thought, at the sound of tax. But when you know your rights and you know your responsibilities, tax is not such a big deal. I think so far we have a very lenient tax structure in Nigeria. The enforcement can be quite, shaky, but when you know your rights, you can stand your ground when it comes to taxation. You can stand your ground when it comes to the tax officials, if you know your responsibilities as well. So this major aspect of tax is very, very important. I advise that if you want to start your business, start off on the right foot. Start off as a tax responsible entity and continue that way. Once you start off tax responsible, it will be easy for you to continue. And then the thing again is, know what are the taxes that cover my business, because for different entities, for different corporate entities, for different business entities, you have different tax liabilities. So for instance, if you are a sole proprietor, your exposure, you really have no business with companies income tax. So nobody can come and meet you and say you have not paid companies income tax. No, you can say no, I don't have any, I don't have any business with companies income tax. Oh yes, I have to remit VAT, I have to do my PIT, but you can stand your ground on that. So after registration, the first thing that you have to do as a business owner is to find out, okay, what are my tax responsibilities? Who am I supposed to register with? No matter what you do, as long as you are exchanging business, you are exchanging goods and services, you have to register for your VAT with the FIRS. Now, VAT is value added tax, yes, and the FIRS is Federal Inland Revenue Service. That's the federal tax authority. I'll start with VAT because VAT runs across borders. There are certain goods and services that are not, or that are exempted. However, the generality of goods and services that we do in business are included in VAT. You have to remit VAT. Now, value-added tax is an additional sum imposed on the total fee for a particular good or service. So, let me give you an example. I'm a consultant, for instance, or I am a consultant. Let me do that because that's more near close to home for me. I'm a consultant and I give accounting advice, I give tax advice, I give legal advice, and then I give you a fee for that. Maybe for a particular service that I render, I give a fee of 500,000, for instance. Yeah, I'm supposed to also add VAT. Now, VAT is not for me to pay. VAT is for the person I'm offering that service to pay. Do you get? Because that goes to the government. So usually it's 5%. So I add that 5% in addition to the value of my service. Now, my business here is to make sure that I get that 5% of my fees from my client and make sure it gets to the FIRS. So that is what I'm supposed to do. So actually, at the end of the day, my client is the payer of the VAT, but I am the collector and the remitter. So as a business owner, you should know that as well. Because at the end of the day, once you have a tax audit and your tax consultant, the tax officer sees that you have collected this amount of money for a month, he would ask, so where is the value added tax? Either you collected and you did not remit, or you even failed to collect, and those have penalties. So you have to also be aware of that. Now, there are other tax laws you should be aware of. There's the personal income tax. So as an individual getting income either from paid employment or unpaid employment, so as an entrepreneur yourself, you have to pay tax. Even if you are a director or a partner or a sole proprietorship or a sole proprietor, you have to pay tax on your income every month, at the end of every year. But if you are underpaid employment, there's a payee structure whereby your tax can be collected by your employer every month. But basically, the basis of assessment is yearly. I hope I'm not speaking over your heads here, but please ask any question that you want and I would clarify accordingly. So that's the personal income tax. That's the tax that you're responsible for as an individual. Then the company's income tax is when you have a corporate structure as a company, you are liable to pay company's income tax at the rate of 30% of your taxable income. Now there are ways that this is computed, so you don't have to be sad and say, okay, so you are saying that if at the end of the day all my clients paid me 1 million naira in a month or in a year, so I'm going to pay 30% of that, but I have workers to pay, I have vendors to pay, I have rent to pay. Yes, the law knows that. So all those can be deducted to a particular extent. As I said, that is where you now need a consultant. You need a tax lawyer, and you need an accountant that will make sure that you are not exposing yourself to more tax than you should be exposed to as a business. Yeah, other taxes, withholding tax as well. Withholding tax is not a separate tax, but it's a means of collecting tax at the point of payment. So as a business owner as well, you should know that in addition to VAT, you also have to deduct withholding tax. Now, withholding tax is not an additional payment. You're supposed to collect. If you are paying, that is when you are the one paying to your vendor. You're supposed to deduct tax and remit on behalf of your vendor, because your vendor is the one profiting. If I'm supposed to explain these concepts to you today, I'll probably be here for hours. However, if there's any particular area you want me to clarify, as I said, you can ask and then I will clarify as well. So these are different taxes that you should be aware of. And there are other taxes. There are other Lagos state taxes, that local government levies that you have to know about and you have to comply with. However, as I said earlier, with proper legal advice, with proper tax advice, with proper accounting advice, you don't have to expose yourself to more than you actually have to. Yeah, so that's it generally on tax. And the next thing I'll be talking about is your intellectual property. So I tell my clients, I tell anybody that cares to listen while we are discussing about businesses, that even before you start a business, as you're setting up your business, even before you sell that first product, even before you get that first client, even before you get that first payment, you already have an asset. Even before you buy any physical capital, thank you, Elijah Otto, thank you. He says thanks for this person's value, thank you. So as I was saying, even before you have any assets, any physical tangible assets for your business, or you make any money, you already have an asset. I'm sure you find that quite alarming. That, are you kidding me? I've never started a business, but you have an asset. As long as you have a business, you have a name that you are doing business with. You have a brand, you have a logo, or you have an idea, you have an invention that you are about to apply that is new, is something that will add value, that you can exchange for money, for monetary value. You have an asset. So, and that asset is something that can appreciate over time. So at inception, you have to protect those assets. Now, this is an area that a lot of business owners, a lot of startups neglect entirely. They neglect this area entirely, and it's to their detriment. Let me give you an example. If a big name such as permit me, like Coca-Cola for instance, is going to sell their name, do you know how much money just their name? They don't want to sell any other things. Okay, you know what, I want to sell our name to another company that you can use our name on your product. I'm telling you, that money would be enormous amount of money. So a small business owner as well, or is a startup, yes, you also have to have that at the back of your mind, that this name that I have now, this logo, can become something that is very, very, very profitable, very, very valuable in future. So you have to protect it. Now I'll take a short break to attend to Elijah Otto's question. He said, I work as a freelancer, a virtual assistant. Do I need to pay taxes and also the service of a lawyer? Okay. And Emeka Sepe says, what's the topic of this live coverage and chat? Okay, I'll answer Emeka Sepe first. Emeka Sepe, the topic of this live broadcast is your business and the law. So we're talking about how your small business, your startup, is affected by the law, the things that you have to consider, the legal requirements you have to consider. It's more or less, let me just say, I'm just coming to come and give you free legal advice for your business. So that's basically what we're talking about today. And if you're interested, it would be very worthwhile. Although we are halfway, but it's not too late to join in. Elijah, yes, you said you're a freelancer, you're a virtual assistant. You might need to clarify that term for me. But you're asking that, do you need to pay taxes and also the service of a lawyer? Okay, as long as you're making money, that you're charging somebody for something, and the person is giving you value. You have an income. Income is at the end of the month. Even though it couldn't even be. It doesn't have to be monthly. As long as you are getting, okay, as long as you are getting money, profit. As long as you're making profit, you have to pay tax. You have to pay tax on your profit. As long as you are getting income, you are delivering a service, and you are getting value, you are getting profit, you have to pay tax. So even if you don't have a company, you don't have a limited liability company, as an individual, you are liable under the personal income tax to remit tax on your income. Your income could come from business, it could come from maybe you have a house somewhere. You have a house somewhere and you are collecting rent. As long as you are getting money in, you are making profit, you have to pay tax. Now, Emeka Sepe says, I really want to get enrolled in CAC registration and its procedure. That's what we talked about. So we've talked about, first and foremost, before you get enrolled in the CAC registration, you have to understand what kind of structure do I want to adopt for my business. What kind of structure? Do I want to do a business name? Do I want to do a company? Do I want to go for a corporate trustee? So you need to actually engage a lawyer for that advice. So before you rush off to the CAC, a lawyer will tell you, no, stop. You don't have to do a company. You can do a business name with this. It's cheaper, it's more affordable, and over time you can convert to a company if you so desire. So I hope that answers your question, Emeka Sepe. I think that there was one more question I asked, that do I need a tax advisor? Yes, the previous question, do you need to pay for tax for legal advice? Yes, it's very it would save you a lot of stress in the future. Yeah, thank you, Emeka Sepe. Thank you, Chinyere Erodu. Thank you, business and the law, a lot of info together. Thank you. Mike Mbom, which companies are exempted from education tax? Okay, now that's another issue entirely. As a company, you're supposed to pay education tax. As far as I'm concerned, right now, every company should pay. You have an element of education tax, 2% actually on it. I'm not aware at present of any special company that is exempted. However, I would confirm for you and see if there's any recent registration or policy that has been passed according to that in that area. Yeah. Elijah Otto, okay. Elijah also, thank you for clarifying. You say that you work on a freelancing platform, which is a foreign platform. They do get their percentage when we are paid by clients. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's good. Thank you for that clarification. But you are getting money, Elijah. You are being paid, and you are a citizen of Nigeria, so you have to pay. You have to pay personal income tax. So at the end of the year, when you now gather all the money you've gotten from the virtual assistant job, when you get the money, you gather the money that maybe you have a business as well. Put that together. Maybe you have a house in Lekki, or you have a house in Banana Island that you are collecting rent on. You gather all that money together. You call a tax consultant. You call or your friend that is an accountant and say, okay, please help me make the deductions. Help me assess what is my taxable income. Help me remove all the allowable deductions, and then you now apply. It's a graduated structure. Yeah, it's a graduated structure. You now apply. Your tax consultant and your accountant will do all that. They will now calculate it for you and say, okay, at the end of the day, at the end of the year, because the yearly thing, you pay in arrears. So this next year, 2008, you'll be paying for your tax for 2017. So at the end of the year, as a freelancer, as an individual, you compute your tax, and then you apply, you compute your tax, and then you remit to your tax authority. That's the tax authority of the state that you reside in. So if it's Lagos State, if you are living in Lagos State, you pay to the LIRS. If you are living in Ogun State, you pay in Ogun State. Okay, so as long as you're getting money, Elijah, you have to pay. It's a responsible thing to do. Mike Mbom, which companies are classified as education establishments? Okay, I think you have to clarify. Is it for the purpose of education tax? Okay, I think then we would have to clarify. Is it for the purpose of education tax or generally as education establishments? I know that the company's income tax actually provides for that. So if you have a copy of the company's income tax, which I do not have here, I would want you to look at that and see and see the companies that are classified as education. But I know generally that the government takes this tax, the education tax, and uses it for project that has to do with education. Mostly it will be public establishments, really, because I've not come across the day that the government is giving money to private education establishments. Chinyere Erundu, hi, how are you? He said, how are tax regulated? The tax office prepared our tax papers from an invoice we submitted to a company. The tax office prepared our tax papers from an invoice we submitted to a company. Okay, yes, that's possible. Now, the thing about tax in Nigeria is that not everybody files their tax returns at the end of the year. And then the tax authorities have to find a way legally to be able to determine the tax responsibility or the tax liabilities of each and every one of us. So a way to be able to determine how much a company or a person is getting is from the kind of money that is being paid to that company. So that is for income tax. But as I told you, VAT is also another payment you have to make when you're making or remit. So for instance, if you issue an invoice to your customer and your customer pays to you, you're supposed to collect VAT, 5% of the money of the professional fees. You're supposed to collect it and remit. So if you have not remitted, if the tax authorities can lay hold of that invoice, they can be able to determine that you were supposed to charge 5% and remit as VAT. So that one is a pretty straightforward way of determining your VAT remittance that you should have done. So they can make such assessments, especially when it comes to VAT or withholding tax, from the invoice that you issued or the invoice that you received. When it comes to income, they will need a lot more than that. But however, I'm sure that it's an internal thing. The tax authorities have a wide scope, pretty wide scope of ways to determine how best to determine the tax liabilities of different individuals, even if they have not filed a tax return. So as long as it's legal, that is why you also need to consult. When all these things happen, because I am not privy to the facts, all of the facts, so I won't be able to speak to it. But once you have that tax invoice, you have the tax papers they prepared for you, or the tax assessment they made on you, or the letter they sent to you, you just put that together and get a lawyer or a tax consultant and tell them, please help me make sense of this. Is this something that they can do? Is this legal? And then they can represent your interest in that regard. Yeah, I hope that answers it pretty well. Thank you, Elijah. Thank you. You said, I hope I answered your question, Elijah. So while I wait for more questions on this platform, we're talking about intellectual property. Okay, so Chinyere has come back. He said, meanwhile, I was charged 5% by a company I work for last month. How do I fix it? Because it's obvious I have paid the VAT of the work done. Okay, you worked for a company last month and they paid you. you weren't giving tax clearance papers from the company. Okay, you worked for a company and they paid you, but they removed 5%. That is most likely a withholding tax deduction. I explained earlier, it's a withholding tax deduction. So really, let me explain that to you. Let me explain it to you now. At the end of the year, Chinyere, you're supposed to assess your tax. You're supposed to say, okay, at the end of the year, this is how much I have gotten, and this is how much I'm supposed to pay, as my income tax. But the tax authorities do not want to wait till the end of the year, because even at the end of the year, a lot of people might not pay. So what they do is that at the point of anybody paying to you, they are collecting 5% of the money that's supposed to come to you. Now that tax is supposed to be deducted. So at the end of the year now, when you now do your tax deductions, but you've already been paying 5% of different sums of money you've been collecting, you now deduct all that amount of money from the amount you're supposed to pay at the end of the year as your tax liability. So the difference is now what you will now pay, because you have been paying your end of the year tax little by little by those 5% that all your vendors or all your clients have been deducting. So it's possible that that deduction is a withholding tax, which is an okay thing. But you now say that, moreover, I wasn't giving the tax clearance papers from the company. Now what they're supposed to actually give you is a credit note. That's what the tax authorities are supposed to issue. They will issue it to the client that deducted, and that client will give it to you. So you could ask, just make clarifications that what's happening. I'm supposed to have a credit note on this if you indeed remitted that withholding tax on my behalf. So you should have like some sort of credit note issued to you. Yeah. So just clarify. Just ask questions. That is not in this case not a tax clearance you're asking for. It's a credit note. So just ask and say, where's my credit note? What's going on? And then you can even go to the FIRS and seek for more clarification. It's really not so it's not so complex as it is. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I'll go on intellectual property. Thank you, Chinyere. I'm so glad that it's a lot clearer to you now, and I think you just ask more questions from that from the client, and then you would know accordingly what the next steps you're supposed to take. Okay, so we're going back to intellectual property. So your logo, your brand, your name is a property, is an asset. You can sell it at some point in time. You can just say, you know what, I'm packing up my company, I'm packing up my business. You can sell in bits and pieces and sell your brand. So it's very important that you protect it, that you register it, and you can do that under different levels. So if your business has to do with a lot of writing, if you're a freelance writer, or you design, you contents like music, you have write lyrics, you write musical compositions, or you write scripts for movies, or anything, you produce a film. Those things that you do are assets. Thank you, Chinazo Adajo Onyebichi. Thank you. So those things are assets. You have to protect them right from the very beginning. You have to protect them. They are copyrights, so you have to register it as a copyright. Now, in Nigeria, copyrights are not registrable, because really, the process is quite cumbersome to register every form of copyright. In fact, you can just write a 10-line poem. It's copyrightable, and you know how many people are writing all over the world. However, the law says that once you have made a copyrightable material. For instance, if I just write a poem now about Redalia workspace, how wonderful it is, how comfortable it is, I just write a poem for them. as I've written, once I drop my pen, it's copyrightable. I already have copyright in that material. So if anybody now copies that poem and now puts their own name, when they know that it's Damilola 2B that wrote it, and they now put their own name and now publish it in the newspapers or publish it as an entry to a competition, I can say, you know what, I have copyright in that composition. I have copyright in it, and I can be able to prove that as so date, this is the original manuscript. Maybe you dated it, or you put it, or you sent it to your email. Do you understand? You sent it to your email. As long as there's a date, do you get to it? You can show the court that before this person even thought of writing this thing, I had written this. You can prove that you own the copyright in that composition. So you should also know this. You should also be aware of this, right? So that when somebody else copies, as you know, to a large extent your work, you can be able, you just don't say, okay, you just sit down, these things happen. No, you know you're right. You know that no, you can't do that, because it is my property. It's not tangible. You can't touch it. You can't hold it. But it is a property. Your intellectual property is the property of your mind, a product of your mind. And that thing can even earn you money, because you can write to earn money. So it has monetary value as well. So you can be able to say, you know what, this is my right, this is my copyright, and you cannot violate it. Chinazo, you said, how can we get our writings copyrighted in Nigeria and enforceable? That's what I just explained. However, there's a process now which is called lodging at the NCC. Because, as I said, it might be difficult for you to prove that you wrote this thing before that person. So therefore, it's, you know, sorry for the colloquialism there, but therefore, I am the owner of this, I'm the original writer. So the NCC has made it easy for us now by saying, okay, although you cannot register your copyright, but you can come and lodge it. So once I write something, maybe I write a script, or I write a lyrical composition for a music, I can go and lodge it at the NCC. What that does is that at least there's a formal record of the date that work was made. So if I lodge it, if I write it, something that, you know, I wrote a book now, I can go and lodge it at the NCC, and NCC will say, okay, dated the 4th of December. And then, so if somebody else comes and then comes to lodge that same thing with them, they'll say, oh no, this person had done this before. This person obviously was the original writer, because it predates your own composition. Even if the person doesn't lodge it, if the person just publishes it, you know, and the person says, no, I did it, I wrote this thing on the 15th of December, it's my original composition, it's easier for you to prove, because how is it possible that I wrote something on the 15th of December and someone wrote the same thing and lodged it on the 5th of December? So it's easier to prove your copyright. So you can take advantage of that process of lodging at the NCC. The NCC is the Nigerian Copyright Commission, so you can take advantage of that as well. Now, another thing that you can register is your brand, is the name of your company. You know, there are so many names now that just the mention of that name, just the mention of the name of those companies is valuable. Just to be associated with those companies, but not because of it, not because there's any particular thing about the name, but because they have added value to the name by what they have been doing. So, for instance, if you have an Apple, they have been their business is very valuable, which adds value to the name and to their brand. So I'm sure that a lot of us are out there and you want to have a sustainable business. You don't just want to go by and say, I just want to be buying and selling, I just want to be able to eat. No, you want to also do something that, you know, that blows your mind, that far after you are gone, the business still runs, it still employs people. You want to have a sustainable business. So you want to also add value. And you are sure that if you indeed do that, your name would have value, your brand will have value. So you have to register that as well. That the process of registration is trademark. Thank you, Elijah Otto. Thank you. The Thank you for that. Elijah says, wow, another awesome information. Thanks for this. I'm so glad that you're getting a lot from this. I'm so glad. So as I was saying, you have to register your brand, your logo as a trademark, so that nobody else can use it. The thing about registration is that so that another person cannot take advantage of the sweat from your forehead. You get? So you're protecting your interest in these things. So for instance, if you have a logo, or if you have a brand, or if you have a name, and let me go to the mango again. I don't know why mango, but I guess, I don't know, today is just the mango day. So I have the mango product, and it's now very valuable. But I didn't register it because I felt, how many things do I want to sell? How many, let's say I sell bags, the mango bags, or the mango phones, or the mango books, and I just tell myself that I won't put I'm not gonna spend so much money to go and trademark. Let me just be selling it. Then a year passes, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and your business has become so big. The mango bags are in Italy, they are in the US, they are everywhere, and you're making so much profit. And then somebody else now comes and says, you know what? Instead of me to now start off from the scratch and now be building my own the orange bags, I might as well just, make my bags and put the mango on it, and they start selling. You now discover that, and then sell at a cheaper rate. You now discover that all your clients are now saying, see, this one too is the mango. I might as well just buy that one, and it's cheaper. And you start losing money. That's what happens. Yeah, that's what happens. You start losing because somebody else is taking advantage of your product. Now, to make things a lot easier, if you had registered your trademark, so the day you just see the mango on another bag, you just go and write a letter. You tell your lawyer to write a letter. You write a letter personally to them and say, you know what, desist, because I have the right over that name. I have the right over that logo, and because I have the right and right over the name and logo, you cannot use that name and logo at the same time. So it's very important that you at the onset, because you do not know, you have no idea how your business is going to grow. You have no idea how your brand, how your name, how your logo is going to be valuable. So why take the risk? And besides, you're in business to make profit anyways. You're in business to add value anyway. You're in business to become large anyways. So protect it, register it, talk to a lawyer, do your trademark registration. There is also, if you have an invention that you believe is original, is new, nobody else has thought of it, it's purely new, it's a novel idea, then you register it under the patent as well. We have a patent registry here in Nigeria. You register it as a patent. If you have a design, maybe you make chairs or you make tables, and it's a design that you industrially reproduce. It's a particular design. Nobody else makes chairs like this. Nobody else makes tables like this. You can also register that design as an industrial, as an industrial design under the Patent and Trademark Registry authorities as well. Now, this is how much we can take for today. I would also like to, as I said earlier, I would like to reiterate that it is very important. It is very important to have the services of a lawyer when you want to start your business. A lot of headaches can be avoided, will be avoided and prevented. A good lawyer that would advise you on the steps to take, on the things that you need to do. The cost of not having a lawyer far outweighs, or not having not having proper legal advice far outweighs the disadvantage of paying for those services. So if you're looking for a good lawyer, I can recommend a particular law firm. It's called Creed and Stone's Legal Practice. Now, Creed and Stone's Legal Practice, I'm the managing partner of that law firm, and we give advice to small scale, medium scale, startup businesses at an affordable rate. in a way that you would understand and you'll be engaged in the process of your business as well. This is just one of so many other law firms. You might have a friend that is a good lawyer. You might have a friend that knows his or her onions in the law. Engage those people as well. Speak to them about your business, because this advice are invaluable. You need it for a proper running of your business. I hope I've been able to impact a lot of clarity and knowledge today about how the law affects your business, and I'm so glad. Thank you so much for everybody that participated. Elijah, Chinazo, thank you Chinyere, thank you Mike, thank you Emeka. Thank you so much for being part of. Thank you, Mofolusha Ike. Thank you, Chinazo. Thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this discussion. And as I said, if you have any further need of legal assistance in forming your business and running your business, we are available to answer at every point in time. So till we see maybe sometime again on another topic. Thank you, and I'd like to say a very big thank you to the Redalia Workspaces. As you can see, I'm working from a very, very beautiful, office space right now. It's provided by Redalia Workspaces. That 43B Emina Crescent, off Toyi Street, Ikeja. It's a beautiful place. So for your startups, in order to save money, you don't have to go and rent a building and then pay for generator, pay for light, pay for internet, pay for everything. You can come to Redalia Workspaces and just pay your monthly fee and have all that. You don't have to worry about all that. You don't have to worry about this. So let them do all that worrying for you. So please come over and see how, at least just come and visit and see how beautiful it is. Okay, thank you, Chinazo. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of the week, a fulfilling rest of the week, and I wish you the very best in your business endeavors and in the work of your hands. Take care.